I made it out to the field. We are going to start burning. We're not going to be burning the whole field, at least that's the thought. If that does happen, we do have our hired part-time guy Gary out here in the digger. He is working this ground. This field still needs to be planted. But the thought is we're going to try burning this fence line here where a lot of the corn stalks blew in over the winter months. The reason we need to burn this stuff is because no amount of soybeans, even if we do dig this, is going to grow through this much residue, and it's that way for the whole half-mile length of the field. So I'm going to start here, get the fire going, and then hopefully it should kind of carry itself all the way to the other end. Our fire is off to what I would call a hot start, quite literally. It works good because the wind is blowing it farther and farther along the fence line. I got one portion of the fire started here. We'll drive down a ways, get another section started. That way this won't take all that long. Crazy to me how easy it is to light this stuff on fire. Just take a little lighter, right on down to the corn stalks that have been sitting here dry since the super dry winter we have, and within seconds we got flames, we got smoke, the fire's rolling. The fire is lit the whole half mile, the headlands. Now I'm gonna drive all the way back down to the other end, make sure nothing's getting out of control, and also make sure everything's still burning. Well, this I didn't mean to burn. I was trying to stay away from burning the intakes here because there's small plastic pipe that runs in the ground. If it gets too hot, it'll melt, but thankfully there was enough grass growing here. It did burn up to the intake, but it didn't burn the intake, so that's looking good. Otherwise, it looks like the fire is coming along really nicely. The flag, though, didn't turn out quite as lucky. I burnt this off, so we'll have to get a new flag here at some point, but the flag didn't survive the fire. By the looks of it, I didn't make it back to this tile intake either fast enough. It burned through, didn't burn the flag down, so we should be fine. All the fire is out now along this fence line. Up close, if you remember what it looked like before, all that corn stalk residue, well, most of that has burned into smaller pieces of ash. And the nice thing about this is we'll still have all the nutrients out here. Gary, who's out here digging this field right now, he will work a tillage pass right along this fence line. It'll bust up all this stuff, make it just so much easier for the planter to plant into. Now that the burning is done, I'm back at the farm, and the next thing we need to get done is we had a hard pounding rain here a couple days ago, so we have the rotary hoe all hooked up. I need to go rotary hoe a couple fields. And conveniently for me, because I'm the one that gets to run that, but also not so convenient for the farm, is that our 9R yesterday, the alternator went out on it. So here it sits. Have been able to tillage with this for almost the last 2 days because the alternator went out, so we're not charging the battery. So honestly, if I even tried to fire this thing up right now, it probably wouldn't even start. But the good part for me is this tractor has a GPS globe on it, so we're going to take this off, bring that over to our other tractor, and hopefully have GPS. Now, I don't know exactly for sure if this globe is going to work. Well, I know the globe is going to work, but the question is, the monitor inside this tractor is very outdated and is almost pre a lot of my knowledge on this stuff. So this is a Green Star 3 display. The newest Green Star display is a Gen 5. Those I know a lot better, but I was Googling a little bit and I think there's a way we can make this work. Never even accepted the license agreement on this tractor, and this tractor's 13 years old. It looks like this is going to work to make some lines, so I will have GPS in this tractor, but it's wanting to know a heading angle. With the heading angle is what they're wanting is what angle did I plant my crops in, since I'll be running this in standing crops. And since the earth isn't flat, obviously, I think we all know that, but if you disagree, you can let me know. But because the earth is round, we do not plant at perfectly straight lines. They are straight lines, but it's not perfectly 0, 90, 180, or 270 degrees. So I need to make sure I find the heading angles that we use with the planter. That way it matches up perfectly with the hoe. But since I'm still in the yard with the tractor, I know I can find that information on my computer. Now, I don't need GPS. I can drive fairly straight with this tractor, but it makes it so much easier, especially on your neck, trying to look constantly behind and in front. So we're gonna come into the office and I'm gonna see if I can figure this out. With a little computer magic, I found all the lines from the planter. I found the angle that we need. So I'm gonna snap pictures of the different angles because each field's at a little bit different angle. We'll plug those angles in when we get back to the tractor, and fingers crossed, I think this should work. We're heading out to the first field. I personally never ran GPS through one of these displays in this old of a tractor. Normally, we have a separate display that runs everything. That's what we used to run in this tractor with the planter. Based off what I've seen so far, it's gonna work. Looks like Gary's making good headway since we were last here. Pulling the rotary hoe out. This is always a pretty satisfying job to me. The rotary hoe is only connected on the 3-point of the tractor, so back here it is strictly just connected right here, which is called the 3-point. So there's no hydraulics that are needed other than to unfold. So if I start pushing this down, down goes the rotary hoe. On my phone it says I need 179 roughly degrees, so we'll enter that over here. Accept. Now I just need to find where the first row starts of our corn. By the looks of it, our first row of corn is right here in this indentation, and that's the tire mark from the planter. So that's where the hoe needs to be. We'll go back and shift over our line. Shift track. Shifts. Okay, that's fine. Center. There we go. If this works like I think, I'm going to feel pretty smart, but I'm also going to feel like a Nimrod because last year we ran this exact same setup and had an extra glow. Didn't use it all season long. Here's some of the soil I haven't worked yet with the rotary hoe. You can see there is a bit of a crust on the soil. A lot of it's from that heavy rain that we had and the water that sat here for a little bit amount of time. And here's the stuff I've already rotary hoed. You can see the thing it's doing is busting up some of that crust. This is a cornfield, so the thought is help bust up that crust, help the corn seedlings emerge through the crust that's formed. The tillage tool itself, called the rotary hoe, very simple tool really. It just has these tines that spin around when I'm driving with the tractor. That helps bust up some of that crust. The big thing with this is you gotta drive pretty fast, so I'm driving about 11 miles an hour. That way these tines really get whipping, and that's busting up that crust, which we're liking. The big thing to watch out for here is I can't work the field too deep. Here's one of our corn seedlings. If I work it too deep and I bust off the shoot of the corn here, this corn plant will basically be dead and will no longer grow. So I gotta make sure I'm not working it too deep. So we'll get out a couple times, but so far it's looking good. Now normally I don't pick up those small rocks like that, but honestly, after spending the last month running the planter and the digger, and the planter especially having a bunch of monitors on the side, and it seemed like something went wrong and I had to get out every half hour. Now, running the rotary hoe here, I've been running for at least the last 3 or 4 hours, haven't gotten out probably in that amount of time, and I saw those small rocks and I was like, well, they're small, but I want to stretch the legs. Now's a good time. So I grabbed them, threw them in the rock box. With the whole field now rotary hoed, it should be quite a bit easier for the little corn seedlings to poke right through here. The big thing is we didn't want to break off any of these corn shoots, because if that little sprout would have got knocked off, the corn plant would basically die. We'd more than likely come out here and replant. That's why it's important. We're trying to be preventative. We're trying to rotary hoe before the corn starts coming out of the ground, trying to give it that little bit of boost. Rotary hoeing like we did today is not the most fun job because this is only a 30-foot tillage implement. I say tillage. Some people actually use these things for weed control. I consider it a form of tillage, but it definitely takes a long time. We're going to be rotary hoeing about 400 total acres. So I got another field I'm going to head to tonight, but that's it for today's video of HiTech Farmer. Thanks so much everybody for watching. We'll see ya in the next one.